Alright, moving on. Next thing we're going to talk about is gender. So it's one of those confusing things for English speakers because English, we don't have gender, even though English is basically the love child of French and German, and both French and German have uh, male or female or other words, but English doesn't have any of that. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to learn. But luckily, there are some tips that make it a little bit easier or more intuitive. So to kind of break it down, there's some acronyms that I learned when I was learning Spanish. So if it's it's loners and dionces. So loner, L-O-N-E-R-S, dionza, D, ion, like the I-O-N, zeta, Z, and A. So not always, but a lot of the time, if a word ends in one of these letters of the acronym, and when I send the snap of the notes, when I send you the picture of the notes, it'll kind of be easier to follow. But if a word ends in one of these letters, it's kind of an easy way to check if it's male or female. So let's start with loners. So if a word ends in an L, ends in an O, ends in an N, ends in an E, ends in an R, ends in an S, S if it's not plural, like if it's singular form naturally ends in an S, because plural, it's good, it doesn't, that's not going to affect the gender. But if the word ends in one of these letters, usually, not always, but usually it's masculine. So for example, let's see, thinking of an example, moretón. El moretón is masculine. A bruise is masculine because it ends in N. Or let's think, hermano, brother. Hermano is masculine because it ends in an O. There are some exceptions though. For example, words that look masculine, but because they're shortened, but their long form is feminine. So for example, photo, it seems like it should be masculine, but the reason it's not is because it's short for fotografía, and fotografía ends in A, which is almost always feminine. So there's some, or radiografía, motocicleta. So they look like they should be masculine, but that's because they're the shortened, kind of shortcut way for feminine words. Some other exceptions, and I think these are more just for poetic effect, or just kind of intuitive things for some reason. Flor ends in an R, but it's feminine because it means flower, and I guess Spanish thought that flower should be feminine. Leche ends in an E, so it should be masculine, but it means milk, and it's feminine. La leche, la flor. Mano is a hand, la mano. I'm not sure why that one's feminine, but it is. Mujer ends in R, but it means woman, so usually woman is feminine in most places of the world. Well, debatable. So now let's go on to some feminine words. Actually, let me see what I got here in terms of practice. Okay, so here's some practice words for masculine, real quick. Oh, just kidding. I'm going to give that to you for the homework assignment. You can figure it out. Okay, so masculine words end in L, O, N, E, R, S. Loners. Not always are they masculine if they end in these letters, but often. Usually pretty often. Okay, so now feminine words, fianzas, de, so D, ion, Z, and A. So words that end in D, words that end in ION, so la pared, la situación, words that end in Z and A. So these words are usually, almost always feminine. Not always, but pretty close. So some exceptions though are, there are certain words that end in A. So usually words that end in A are feminine, but the exception is when those words are foreign words. So a lot of words from Greek that got imported into Spanish, a lot of them end in A. So even though they look like they should be feminine, because they're Greek words, originally they're actually masculine. So for example, mapa, drama, problema, diploma. So a lot of, if it ends in a MA, or like a vowel MA, AMA, EMA, IMA, klima, it's most likely 95% going to be a Greek word, which makes it masculine for some reason. Mapa also is a Greek word. It means map, but it's masculine, not feminine. And some Arabic words too, like algebra, algebra, is masculine. So some common exceptions: dia means day, it's masculine. Noche ends in an E, which should be masculine, but it's feminine. It means night. So day is masculine, night is feminine, kind of like the yin-yang thing. Sofa, a sofa, it ends in an A, but it's masculine. El sofá. Lápiz, el lápiz ends in Z, but it is also masculine. It means pencil. There are certain words that could go either way, the unisex words. So, for example, if something ends in an ista, like artista, barista, dentista, it could be male, it could be female, and the only way you're going to know is from context. So like the article or the adjective that's attached to it. So it could be, you can't tell from the ending if it's masculine or feminine. You have to find out more about that particular person. Also, there are some words that end in an e, that could be masculine, could be feminine, depending again on context. Like estudiante, student. El estudiante, la estudiante. It depends. So you have to pay attention to the other words. And there's also some words that end in n, that could be masculine or feminine. So for example, joven, youth. El joven, la joven. Real quick, some things about about gender. So if you have a group of objects or people or animals or whatever it is that's male, if all of them are male, then the entire group is, when it becomes plural, is a bunch of males. For example, el hombre, the man, los hombres. El estudiante, los estudiantes, if they're all male. If you have a group of all female, then all of them, when it becomes plural, will also be female. La mujer, las mujeres. La estudiante, las estudiantes. So far it's pretty clear. All male, all singular, one man, everybody's a male, and the group is male. If you have a female, if all of them are female, then the group is female. But what happens when you mix them and it becomes co-ed? Well, that's a tricky question then. So Spanish is, as much as I love Spanish, it's a little bit sexist. So if you have a group of women, like it could be 1,000 women, but the second one man walks into the group, the entire group becomes male. So you have, 1,000 estudiantes, mujeres, so female students, las estudiantes, and then you have one dude just walking over hitting on everybody, becomes los estudiantes. So he makes the entire group male just by being there. So a little bit sexist, but I still love Spanish anyway.